So this is something I've been sitting on for a little bit now. I actually have a very short story to tell in terms of something that happened to me around me when I was in Spain on my pro football trial about a little bit over a month ago. And I'm going to tell the story as to what happened and how that kind of is make me think about the concept that I'm going to talk about today in today's episode. So these things are happening, and I think it hits deep with me. With me as a Christian and a person who follows God and tries his best to glorify God and seek God, these things and these dynamics really hit a little bit deeper with me. So I hope that you can learn something from today, and I hope that it gives some interesting insight. Of course, that's what I'm doing on this show every single day. I took the green screen down behind me because I've honestly had some editing issues with it, with actually it would cut me off a little bit, and it's like I'm just gonna for now. I'm gonna update it in the future. Like, I'm gonna try and make the setup better in the future. But as for now, I'm gonna leave it how it is now. Obviously, it looks a little bit ugly, so bear with me. In the future, things will be better. Don't you worry about that. I'm gonna keep trying to make the show better every day. So without further ado, welcome to the 365 Podcast. I make a podcast episode every single day for 365 days. You will be hated for speaking the truth.
You definitely have like an X-ray goggles on, where you can see someone's aura.
A house divided against itself shall not stand. Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. If you want to make something of yourself, forget your political beliefs. Because different believers experience God in different ways, different non-believers need different explanations to see God as real. Things that make you angry suck you in.
Satan's plan fails, right? And God's plan prevails.
So the story goes like this. I was in Spain. I was training. So basically, I was at like an international academy. You got a bunch of people coming from many different countries around the world. Over there, I met a lot of Muslim guys. And they're nice guys. Like, I have no problem with them at all. But the story pretty much starts with, we were kind of in the van going back to the residency from our training session, and there was a guy that was from Argentina, and there was also a guy from Saudi Arabia. So we kind of had like a car. It was me, this Canadian Portuguese guy, this guy from Argentina, guy from Saudi Arabia, and guy from Iraq who was translating, because the guy from Saudi Arabia couldn't even like speak any English, and the guy from Argentina could hardly. He only spoke a little bit. So it was like, I don't know how they were able to communicate, but they did, and the guy from Iraq was translating. Basically, what happened was, eventually, they were talking about stuff, and he was like, "Oh, you should come to Saudi Arabia one day, right?" And it's like, very enthusiastic about his culture type of thing, and it's like, and the guy from Argentina was like, he was open to it. He was like, "Yeah, it's cool." And that's not the part that kind of like hit with me. Like, then we were kind of leaving, still talking. I actually wasn't really contributing. I was just sitting there watching all of this happen, really. But basically, like, they asked him, like, "Are you a Christian? Like, where is your belief?" And then he was like, "Oh, I'm open." He said he was open to it. And then they were like, "Yeah, you should come to Saudi, and you should come over, and we can teach you, and we can show you things." And then he was like, "Yeah, man, I love that." And he was so like enthusiastic and happy about that. And it's like, that's the part that really like hit me. And it's like, because in that moment, I was going to think about like a rebuttal. I was going to be like, "Hey, you can come to a Christian country and we can teach you and show you things as well about the Christian faith, if you're open to either one." But then I was thinking, there's actually like nowhere to take you. There's nowhere to bring you to teach you about the Christian faith, because that's kind of how our society has become. And you can maybe argue, oh, you can go to Italy or something like that. It's like, I don't know Italy. Like, I live in Canada. My experience is Canada and Portugal. Maybe there are some places in Portugal, but nothing that I'm truly like familiar with. Like, I couldn't take him to a place in Canada. I can tell you that much, right? He's from Saudi Arabia. He knows the country. He can take him to a place in Saudi Arabia to experience the Muslim faith. But to come to Canada, to experience what is the trueness of the Christian faith, you can't. You take him to a church, and no one's really in church, and the mass is kind of bland, and it's like, where's the passion, right? That's what it kind of feels like over here versus over there. So that's what hit me. Is this like, this guy he's open, and he's kind of like, his faith, he doesn't really know where he wants to go. But as a person that's Muslim, you can take him somewhere, and there is this innate set of values that they have over there that you can teach them and they can learn about the faith, and they're more like, and this guy's more likely to go and convert because they're educating him about it. But whereas to come to a Christian or a foundationally Christian country, but it's no longer Christian, you can't really show him anything. Like, you can't really teach him anything. And I understand that, like, what really matters is the word of God, but like, how are people going to believe if you see that the other believers don't have any real foundation? You go to church and no one really is there. There's not a lot of people there. People don't really show up, right? How can you really see that? So that's what hit me. And it's like, and it really made me realize, well, that's kind of the state of the world. Like, this is how the world is going right now. I'll just preface this whole section by saying, like, first of all, this is my opinion, so it's like, take it as you will. And second of all, like, of course, there are a lot of Muslim countries and countries in the Middle East that get it wrong and that have a lot of violence and have a lot of problems. I'm not saying that the Muslim faith is like this, crazy foundationally good faith. Obviously not, because I'm a Christian and Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and that is my belief system, and that is what I see to be true. But I'm saying that you just take the example, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, they get it right. They get the faith right, and they abide by those values in the right way, and they have a stricter measure to implementing those values. And whereas all the countries in the West that were fundamentally founded on Christian principles don't live by those principles at all anymore. So when I think about the future of the world, when I take a step back and look at the bigger picture, I look at how specifically those three Muslim countries are set up. They have the values and they have that strictness of values. Again, say what you want about them. Like, the reason why they keep their values so strict and the reason why they're so safe is because of the harsh punishment you get if you go against it, right? Of course. But we don't have any level of that. Like, I'm not saying that the countries in the West should be as strict as the Muslim countries, but we definitely need a little bit more when it comes to actually having a set of values that unites us. Specifically, I'm going to talk about those three countries because obviously there are countries that do it well and they don't do it well in terms of the Muslim faith because, of course, my opinion, like, the faith is flawed, and that's why countries do it well and countries don't. But the reason why foundationally Christian countries are flawed is not because of the faith, it's because of what we have done in reaction to the faith. Us humans, what we have done, us mortals, how we have reacted to it. Whether it be immigration, trying to create melting pot societies where everyone can just mingle and be together from many different parts of the world, many different religions, or if it literally just be like the modern atheist movement that caused so many people to move away from God in general, whether it just be through political influence that things are no longer based on godly principles and they're just based on people searching for power and manipulation of the population. And it's probably like a big combination of all of those things coming together to leading Western Christian societies down a bad path. And it's a path that you can look at every metric, whether it be like economically, like financially, just like sustainability wise, happiness of the population and contentment of the population. You can look at all these metrics and you can say that, like, yeah, the West is falling. Absolutely, right? You can look at like all these numbers and all these statistics. You can get so deep in the weeds. And I think really the biggest thing is it's the simplest thing. Take a look at the safety index of the world. And you can see that, okay, you have like South America and Africa. Of course, those are the most unsafe places, of course. But out of the developed nations in the world, the countries that you would consider first world countries, the safest countries in the world are those exact countries, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. The safest cities in the world are places like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, Doha, and a few more places in that type of an area are up there. They're up there. And there are only a very few set of examples in Western society of ridiculously safe cities. And at the end of the day, what you want is safety. You want to know that you can be safe and that you can live your life in a safe way. Right? Like an example is Madrid. Like, Madrid is actually, like, despite being a crazy like party city, it is actually very safe. They actually literally have cops patrolling the streets. So it's very safe. And of course, I've been there a couple times now, and it's a good place. But that's only like one of a few examples. And there are so many places that are not that. So my point is, discounting the whatever what you would consider second world, third world, undeveloped nations, discounting those in terms of just the developed nations. Some of the most unsafe cities and countries in the world, some of the most unsafe cities are in the US, are in France, are in Italy, are in the UK. Western society, Christian societies that are no longer Christian, because again, a combination of all of these issues have come together to cause all this violence and to cause whatever gang violence, knife crime, gun crime if you're in America, just robbing, pickpocketing. It's everywhere. It's even in Portugal. It's a big problem in Portugal too. Like Lisbon has a big problem with pickpocketing as well when it comes to crime in that way. So that is just like the most basic statistic you can look at, and you can look at all the other things as well to say that Western society is doing something wrong. Something clearly is wrong. Whereas specifically just these three countries in Muslim society, they're doing something right. And what is it? I think it is kind of down to the way they have a set amount of set values and principles that unify their population, that unify the people. And how here we're just kind of open to everything, and that causes that extra turmoil and violence, because a lot of it's political violence, a lot of it's religious violence, a lot of it is just people being crazy because of influence online, or it be because of drugs or whatever it may be that's causing all of this violence and all of this crime that's happening. That's just one example. Again, you can also look at economically how inflation is up, how people are making less money, people are strapped for money, unemployment and homelessness are up. Of course, right? You can look at all those stats as well in modern Western society. So I take a look at this type of thing, and I look at the example that I gave from my friends that I met in Spain. I give that example because I look at society like, I look at it like, where's the future going to be, right? Assuming, of course, we have all the problems that are happening in the world. Like, assuming the world stays intact, that no one like bombs anyone, and that like, the world doesn't get like nuked, right? Assuming it stays intact from that standpoint, where does the future lie? And I think those very same Muslim countries are the ones that are preparing themselves for the future, that have such strong core values that they abide by, that they're preparing themselves for a brighter future, whereas the West is clearly falling on all of these metrics, and it's all of this stuff that has contributed to it. And we've moved so far away from the values that we founded these countries by. So now we're Christian societies, but we're not Christian societies. We're laughed at because we don't have anything fundamentally Christian about any of us. There are only 2 recognized Christian countries where they literally put it in writing, in declaration, that Jesus Christ is their Lord and Savior. They're in the whole Western society. There are only 2 countries, and it's Poland and Romania. And those countries, actually, more so Romania. Romania is not really, like, Romania also has its problems, and its gang violence and its mafia. Poland's a pretty safe country, but they have their problems as well. And like, Romania is a poor country, so it's not like, it's not like it's America, right? It's not like it's a thriving society. Like, they have their problems as well. But they are examples to the rest of us that it's like, if you want to have fundamental values and you want to have a good society that has the potential to move forward in a good direction, you got to have that set amount of values. And Poland's a popular place to go to now because of that reason. They were the first to officially declare Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, which is, I think, what we need. I think we need more countries to have those values be fundamentally imprinted in them. And then there's controversy, right? I don't think he's the president anymore, but the old Polish president got into a lot of controversies because he was saying, like, just simply about abiding by your values and principles. The Muslims are doing that, right? And they're doing that, and they do it in a very strict way, but that's why they have a society that is prepared for a future of turmoil, for a future of Western collapse, so that they can kind of seize control, right? Like, it's like, of course they have oil, right? The oil helps them with the money, but there's also oil deep within the US, deep within Canada, that no one wants to mine and no one wants to dig up because of environmental reasons, right? That's like the only reason, right? Like, that's the only reason. And then, of course, Venezuela has oil, and you know the situation there. Oil is not the only reason why these countries have the money and the reason why they're setting themselves up for a brighter future, because there's oil here as well, but we don't want to dig it up. But like, if we did, we'd be as rich as them. Like, it's literally, it's literally because there's just so much tension and so much turmoil that there's no values. There's no set amount of values that unify us as a population. Whether you're looking at just Canada or you're looking at just the whole Western society as a whole, you just have to read the Declaration of Independence, right? You read what the founding fathers wrote for America specifically, and how it was very much based on Christian principle, and that is how they founded this country, the countries, and a lot of the countries, of course, especially in Europe, they were founded, of course, on the Christian principles, and they decided to abide by them. But now we've moved so far away from it that it's like I don't blame my friend who is like open to faith, and he's lived in a country that hasn't really taught him about the Christian faith for similar reasons, Argentina, and when a guy from Saudi Arabia is saying, "Hey, we'll teach you about our faith," he's open to it. I don't blame him for it. I don't blame him for it, because that's kind of just the way in a society that things have just kind of fallen into, where it's like I look at it, it's like, yes, there are other Muslim countries that have problems, and yes, you can look at it geographically and say that there's a lot of turmoil in that area, so they could definitely be caught in the crossfire. And if if nukes and bombs happen in that area, they would be caught in the crossfire. So geographically is where it kind of changes, right? Because the advantage America and Canada and this side of the world has is we have two big bodies of water separating us from that other side of the world, from that side of the world that is filled with all of that turmoil, right? And not just like the new Iran situation, but all of the wars that have been happening prior to that. So yes, these countries that do have it right and do have safe societies, they could absolutely get caught in the crossfire one day, and that I would that makes sense because geographically they're right there, right? And I think Israel already bombed Qatar a couple times to try and catch some guys that that they're trying to chase or whatever they're trying to do over there. I'm not going to comment too much on those people, but what I'm saying is I look at it from the broader picture. And you see all the time the narrative of like the West is falling and all these statistics that are pointing in a bad direction. The way to move us in a better direction is to get God involved again, is to abide by Christian values again. And that's the one great positive thing, is because in 2025, there were the most amount of Gen Z converted Christians. So more and more people, especially in my generation, are realizing the mistakes of the past of our parents and our grandparents, and are trying to find God again. And a lot of us are moving in that direction. And that's a great positive thing to see. If we can keep going in that direction, hopefully we can find those values again, and we can actually be able to abide by those values. But perhaps it's too far gone, because again, we have a society with millions and millions of people where one person is just one way and the other person's another way, right? And like, you're okay with that. You're okay with the melting pot society. You're okay with all the crime. You're okay with all of the problems happening and all the drugs and all the addictions that are there in this society. Whereas, simply put, in those three countries, in those Muslim countries, they're not okay with it. They don't tolerate it at all. And they have a very, very hard, strict line that they put their foot down on. That they say, you can't do this, right? And they will, either, they'll probably kick you out, they'll throw you in jail, or they'll kill you, right? Like, that's it. But, like, I'm not saying you have to have a line as hard as that, but I'm saying that those types of ideas is what makes those countries safe. It's what makes those countries good to live in, and it makes those countries like have a better chance of a thriving society in a future where the West is just falling farther and farther into all of the problems that we have. So although there are a couple of examples, and I took Madrid as an example of a safe city, of a city in Western society that is doing it right, it's only one of a few examples. Like, I could list cities, right? You can if you just go to like a safety index and in the world and just just go to Europe. Just go to Europe. You can look like the bottom 10, like 6 or 7 of those cities in the bottom 10 are French cities. And France is like the biggest example of the problems and the most extreme example of the problems that we have in this society. And of course, America obviously has a lot of those problems as well. And America has many, many unsafe cities in that country as well. Like, I actually think in comparison, Canada's doing okay. Like, we're not great, but in terms of safety, we're actually doing okay. But in terms of the values, Definitely not. Like, I'm not saying that everyone has to be a Christian, but I'm saying that, like, as a country, as a society, we have to have things that unify us, things that are greater than ourselves. And because of all of this stuff that has put a wrench in that over the last couple of centuries, we now are in a place where the West is falling day after day, and it's only a matter of time before the West clearly falls. There's only a few specific places in this part of society that might do well in the future, but the countries that are prepping themselves in the best way to do well for the future are those three countries in the Middle East that abide on Muslim principles. For me, Jesus Christ is perfect. Jesus Christ is the epitome of perfection. That is why there's no perfection in the Muslim faith, because you have the countries that are extreme in the way that they do things, and you have, of course, the countries that are doing it right but still have to be ultra strict with what they do. It's not perfection because Jesus Christ is perfection. But there's really no society today that actually abides by those values. Again, I think Poland is the closest you're going to get, and maybe it will get better, but there is no society that actually abides by those Christian principles in the same way that these Muslim societies are abiding by Muslim principles. And that's why, again, it goes back to the original story I'm telling and the whole point of this whole discussion and this whole thing I'm talking about, that I don't blame the guy for being open to it, because there's nothing in Christian society that would allow a person like that to experience the faith in the greatest way possible. Whereas in Muslim society, there's a law. And of course, the guy being from Saudi Arabia helps because he probably knows specific things, of course. And if I was from Italy, maybe, like if I was from the Vatican, maybe I would know about it. But the country I'm from, I feel like, me personally, like I feel like the country I'm from should have a level of that, but we don't really at all. And it's just sad. Like, I look at it as just sad, because you see the division, you see all the hate, you see all the anger. And I feel like godly principle is the solution to all of it. And just believing in Christ and putting everything to God instead of being just so trapped within ourselves is the biggest solution to unifying us as a culture, to giving us a better chance as a society to move forward in a better way and prepare ourselves for a better, a brighter future, rather than just seeing how we're just falling apart every day. So it's tough, right? It's tough to really think about it, right? And also, I'm trying to walk the line. Like, I'm not trying to be so controversial talking about these things. I'm just giving my opinion on it. Being a Christian man, being a man who seeks God and who really sees how society in this part of the world has fallen off, and I attribute it to us trying to remove God from the picture, or just trying to distort things. Again, the melting pot, where you have people from, you have Christians and Jews and Muslims and Hindus and Buddhists all trying to mingle together with completely different values and principles, and atheists, of course, all coming into the mix as well. Like, it all comes together to create something that is just not fruitful. It's something that's not sustainable. Absolutely not. But whereas the Muslim countries, that's the one thing I give them. Even if I don't agree with their faith, even if I don't agree with their principles, like, they're setting themselves up for a brighter future. And they are safe places to live. Those are facts. Those are not opinions. Those are distinct facts. Anything beyond that is probably an opinion. But saying that they're setting themselves up for a brighter future and that they're safe countries, fact. Like, there's no argument. You cannot argue that at all. Anything beyond that, you can argue. And I understand that there is a debate to be had. Because, of course, you have all the other countries around them that do the faith in a bad way, right? But we as Christians and fake Christians do it in a bad way as well. So it's like, how do you win, right? If society's going to just keep falling. I think it's as simple as, like, there's a world where we're too far gone and there's no real chance. But there's also a world where if more people convert to the faith, if more people actually see God, and the more people try and do that, like, maybe we eventually get politicians that are God-fearing men that actually want to abide by God-fearing and Christian principles, like in maybe 20 years from now. If we're still here, right? Of course. Like, again, this is like all things considered with all of the turmoil that's happening in the world. Assuming we're all still here, like, an economic collapse is on the horizon. And if we're all still here physically because the world didn't go to turmoil, then like, I'm hoping that, like, it's a positive thing, that maybe we can start making some change, because again, in 20 years you'll have people in office that actually care about the godly principles first before anything else, which is far, far, far from what we have right now, right? You see the Epstein situation, you see like the European elites doing cocaine situation, like that's just a couple of examples, right? And you see what Trump's doing, and it's like it's just a couple of examples of the stuff that's happening in the world, and it's like they're definitely not abiding by Christian principles at all. So if we can have maybe a world leader that abides by those principles, and a society where more and more people are trying to move people in that direction, we can maybe have a chance. But I think the most likely scenario is that it is too far gone, and all you can do as an individual is do what you can to get out, right? Like, do what you can to get out of this part of the world and go somewhere where you can start a family and live a good life, and be able to abide by your principles freely, right? Without like Poland's a great option. Obviously, Romania. Again, Romania is a little bit more contentious because it is a very poor country in comparison. But it's also like probably a better option. Like, if you have the means, it's probably a better option. Like, I'd say Switzerland's a good option. I don't think they really abide by Christian values, but they definitely have some level of value that they make sure their country is safe. It is one of the safest countries in Western society. And I would also argue that many places in Spain as well are also very safe. Again, Madrid, very safe. Like there are places you can go. Not many, but there are places you can go to be a Christian and abide in those godly values and feel like other people are abiding in those values as well. Which as you do that, you can only grow as a people, as a society, as a country, as a nation. But if you're not united by anything, you're only going to just fall deeper and deeper into despair, and that seems to be the direction the West is heading in. So basically, I just say, like, I give my recognition and I give my props to those three specific Muslim countries that do it right. And although it's super strict, they do it right. And we need to have a little bit less tolerance. We need to really, as Christians, abide in those values to help us move in a better direction. And we have way too much tolerance, and we allow for too much stuff. And as a result, it's led to the society we have right now today, where it just seems like it's not really going to go anywhere, because it's not going to go anywhere as it stands. But you as an individual have the power to change. It starts by becoming even more faithful in yourself, in your belief in God yourself, strengthening yourself, strengthening the people around you, and slowly allowing that to build into something fruitful, something beautiful. That's all you can do as an individual, and it starts with you. It starts with you, the individual person. And eventually, the more people do it, we might eventually have a societal change. Again, I don't really see it, but maybe it can happen. But it's like, what I do see is I see the way it's possible to do it right. It's possible to do it right. And actually, like, on that topic, I don't think anyone has it right. Because, of course, like, the beef with the Muslims and those three countries is that they're too strict, right? They're too strict. They will literally punish you in the worst ways imaginable. And they have a lot of slave workers, the way they think about women, obviously. I'm not defending the Muslim faith. I'm not defending those principles. I'm saying that them being so strict on their values is what is having them be prosperous right now, and what is having, like, a lot of people kind of look towards those countries in the world, that my friend included, and like kind of being open to experiencing it and being open to being educated about that culture. Whereas in this part of society, like, it's the whole opposite side. That's like there's no strictness, there's no tolerance, and you'll be put in prison for stupid reasons, but you won't really be put in there for you can burn the American flag, right? But if you burn the pride flag, ooh, big problems, right? Big problems, right? And I think it's getting better. It's getting better. Like, I think it was way worse a few years ago, but like, that's an example of, like, the way we're moving, right? You can burn a Bible, but like, oh, you burn the Quran, ooh, right? It's because if you burn the Quran, the Muslim people will come out and and defend their faith, right? And usually with violence, right? I'm not saying we have to be violent, but the Christian people need to come out and defend their faith when some crazy stuff like that happens, right? And it's just that we live in a society where that is not going to happen, right? Because we're too tolerant, we're too inclusive. And again, like, we're Christian countries. There's Catholic schools everywhere, right? But we don't teach people the proper principles of God, and it's just a failed system that has actually probably moved more people away from God than it's brought people to God. I'm gonna be real when it comes to the Catholic school system. But like in Muslim countries, you have Muslim schools, and the Muslim schools probably teach the kids the values in a proper way. Like, I would imagine. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but I would imagine that that is the case. And further proof that we are Christian fundamental societies is because of all of the Catholic schools and all of the Christian-based schools that are there, that abide by those principles, or at least try to, but don't do it very well. It's because literally it's just that simple. We just don't do it very well. And the Muslims maybe go a little bit too far in that regard, but they're setting themselves up. And like, they are like the prosperous society right now. They are. Like, okay, yes, Dubai is like a very, rich person country, like kind of party city type of thing. People that I know that have been to Dubai have said that it's a great place to vacation, but they wouldn't want to live there, right? Because like, it's really for the rich and for the people that are just there to like party and have a good time type of thing. And the people I know aren't exactly that type of a person. So like, again, there's drawbacks to everything, but I think like in a city where you can leave like your phone and a watch and some money on like a car and come back 5 hours later and no one has taken it, that tells you that like you're safe in ways that this part of the world, Western society, don't even touch upon. So I think I'm done here talking about this whole concept. The point of me talking about it is just to kind of spread the word, right? Like, bring light to this situation that it's like I don't agree with the Muslim principles because I am a Christian man. I'm a God-fearing man. Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. Like, I don't agree with those principles, but I give them credit because they are abiding by their principles and they're staying strong and true to their values rather than buckling and folding when it comes to like, social pressures, right? Social justice issues or whatever, like equality and type of thing. Melting pot societies. Whereas fundamentally Christian societies have buckled to that, and it's just been over the course of hundreds of years, and now we are here in a place where we're not doing it right? Like, they have an aspect where they're doing it right, but we're not doing it right at all. And we need to be a little bit more strict. Maybe not as strict as them, but I feel like there's a middle ground we can reach as a society where we can abide by those Christian values and truly be prosperous. But as of now, that's only theory, right? It's not possible, and it's not looking likely, right? So, I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of giving my thoughts, spreading the word of this issue, and talking about it. Like, let me know what you think of it. Like, if you're still here, of course, I appreciate you as always for watching the episode. I don't know. I think it's interesting, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. I've actually been sitting on this concept for a little bit now, because obviously it happened when I was in Spain. I was like, ooh, this is definitely something that I should probably talk about on the show. So, like, it's tough, right? It's tough because I'd love to be in a world where many more people cared for God and many more people believed in Christ. And I think it's just glorious. Like, every time that I find someone that has great faith, it's amazing. Every time I find someone who doesn't have great faith but is definitely open to it, and I'm able to have a great faith-based conversation with them, not from a perspective of like indoctrinating them, but just a perspective of educating them, and they're open to it. Those are obviously great moments, and some of the greatest conversations and deepest and most amazing moments of my life, I'd say, is when I would have those deep conversations. I love more and more people in this society to kind of experience that joy, but we don't, right? We don't, because we fall so deep into all these other values, and it's all perverted and it's all distorted and perpetuated probably by social media as well. Actually, not probably, like certainly by social media. Like, did you know that in China, on TikTok, they only show like people doing math and people playing the piano and stuff like that? Did you know that? Maybe you did, but in China, they have optimized this so that the children scrolling the app are actually scrolling through good stuff, like stuff that will help them in society. Whereas in this part of the world, it's all just garbage. It is all just pure slop. And that is the culture we live in right now. To get out of it is by abiding by these values that we have founded this country by and the truth that is in Jesus Christ. If we abide by that, we actually have societies, and it only starts with you, the individual. We actually could get societies on that level. I'm not I'm trying my best to kind of differentiate on that level in terms of the prosperity that those Muslim societies are striving towards. Then we're gonna do well, but I don't see it, right? And it's tough, but it's like, as an individual, all you can do is be the light in the lives and the people around you. That's all you can do as an individual person. So I invite you to do that. At least you can do that much, right? And strengthen your faith as much as you can in Christ, reading the Bible and learning the teachings and being able to spread the word as much as you can to those that are open. So that the person from Argentina, just again, like, this is more like a hypothetical thing now. That the person from Argentina that I knew that was open to either one, that you can bring him to the light, to Christ, rather than have him be swayed into going to the Muslim faith because of looking at the society, right? And it's like, you can even look at it from the perspective of the people, right? We as Christians are not, a lot of us, and there are a lot of fake Christians out there. There are a lot of people that really do not abide by the principles of Jesus Christ. And there are many Muslim people that are just great people. And again, I don't fault the people that I met in Spain that are from those countries. They were amazing people, and I love spending time with them. But, like, it makes sense why a lot of people are, like, looking towards that faith, because they're very welcoming. They're very enthusiastic. They're very welcoming, and they're very, like, they just want to educate you, right? We need more of that. As a Christian society, we need more of that. But we don't have that, because they have the place you can go to, and they have the people that you can go to, whereas we don't really have that in the same way. Again, like, you go to a church in Canada, it's pretty much empty. Like, it's very, very, like, there's only a few people in there, right? And maybe I'm just naive. Maybe there are churches here that have more people, that have more of a contingent and more of a community than the one I go to. Like, I think that, that is the case. It's probably very real. But it's because, like, I'm not saying that going to church is the end all be all, but, like, to bring people to Christ, like, we need to have some of that, like, enthusiasm, and some of that openness to having the conversation with someone who is open to faith, right? To try and bring them to the light, so that the more people we bring to the light, the better this society can get, the more unified this society can get. But it's only one day at a time, one person at a time, because there's so many people out there that have just fallen victim to the trap and the devil's influence, the indoctrination of modern atheism, or again, like, just the influence of other cultures and the melting pot society. And, like, can a melting pot work? I think in some instances it can. Again, I look at Madrid. Like, Madrid's not I wouldn't say it's particularly Christian. Like, there's a church, there's a mosque, like, they're open, right? So I think it is possible to have a melting pot society that is safe and that is successful, and that people are able to respect each other. But that's a cultural thing. And we are so far away from that we're not really going to get there without a little bit of extra strictness. That's my opinion. And I think that is the way forward for society, is by bringing more people to the faith and having more people abide by godly principles rather than whatever the hell garbage is being perpetuated online and causing people to be in a bad place. So that's all I gotta say. I think I'm done. It was a bit ranty, so I apologize for that, but I try my best. I'm trying my best also to walk the line. I'm not trying to be so incredibly controversial on this issue, because, like, as much as I don't agree with the Muslims, like, I've met so many great Muslim people, and I definitely don't take that away from them, right? But I look at specifically Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE as societies, and they do it right. And, like, they run that faith as good as you probably can. We need some of that. We need a level of that. And I think that is really what it comes down to. So the West is falling, and that's the truth. And how long we have left, well, it's up to you, the individual, to make as small of a contribution as you can. The more people make small contributions, it leads to a bigger thing. A bunch of small things leads to one big thing in the end, and hopefully we can, as a society, save this part of the world from falling to whatever turmoil and destruction might happen. Again, assuming that the world stays intact, that we might truly abide in the way that God wants us to. So that's all I got. That's all I got, truly. I'm done for today. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know. Did I say things that were controversial? I don't know. I don't really think I did, but if I said things that were too far, let me know. Humble me, man. I'm ready to, to try and change a little bit and improve my views a little bit every day and be a better person every day and glorify God in all that I do. So I'm trying my best. Trying not to attack it from like an angry perspective as well. I'm trying to attack it from like a truly non-biased, logical perspective, looking at the situation in the world. I look at it from the bigger picture, right? Like I take a look from the bigger picture, and I look at 20 years down the line where society will be. It really, to me, looks like those countries, those Muslim countries, are way better prepped for a brighter future than we are on this side of the ocean, on this side of the world. So do what you can as an individual to help others around you. And the more people do that, the better this place will be. The less anger there is in this society, the less division, the more unity there is, the more we can truly have a set of values that we can unify ourselves under, and the more we can help us as a society not collapse and prevent that from happening and move in a better direction together in unity, one day at a time. So thank you for watching. As always, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the 365 Podcast YouTube channel and following me on Spotify and TikTok. I leave those links in the description of every video. I'd really appreciate the support. Let me know what you thought of this video and support it in any way you can. I appreciate you for being here and watching this episode of the show. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow for the next one.